Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayom Diraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naischiki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So I offer my humble obeisances to all the devotees present today at the forum. Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhuveva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnavrinda ki jai. Om ajnanaatimirandhasya gnananjana shalakaya chakshuranmilitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Maharaj ki jai. So today I've been asked to speak from Canto 4, Chapter 28. Mataji has asked me to take both the text 59 and 60. Let us see how the time permits, and we'll try to cover up both the verses today. So, starting with text 59. Tasmim stvam ramaya sprishto ramamano shruta smritihi Tatsangat idrisham prapto dasham papiyashim prabho. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear friend, when you enter such a body along with the woman of material desires, you become overly absorbed in sense enjoyment. Because of this, you have forgotten your spiritual life. Due to your material conceptions, you are placed in various miserable conditions. Purport: when a person becomes materially engrossed, he has no capacity to hear about spiritual existence. Forgetfulness of spiritual existence entangles a man more and more in material existence. Such is the result of sinful life. Various bodies are developed with the material ingredients because of different types of sinful activities. King Puranjana assumed the body of a woman, Vaidarbhi, as a result of his sinful activities. Bhagavad Gita clearly says, Striyo Vaishya Tatha Shudraha, that such a body is low born. If one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, he can be elevated to the highest perfection, even though he be low born. One acquires lower birth when one's spiritual intelligence is reduced. So, one at a time, we will speak about this and then go to text 60. So, here, you're all been following this chapter, how Narad Muni is telling the story of King Puranjana to King Pachani Barhishat. He's telling this story to remind him of the main goal of human life. So in this story going further, he's now talking about that what happens when somebody has material desires and how they become so engrossed in sense enjoyment, and then they forget their spiritual life, and because of that they are put into various miserable conditions. So he's just talking about this whole cycle, how there are material desires, and then desires, because we have a desire, to fulfill a desire we do a particular activity, then the activity has an effect, then that effect motivates us to do another activity, then that activity has another effect, and that again, so that there is a big cycle, and then we are all engrossed in this cycle. So this is what they are talking about here, that how everything starts with a desire. If a person gives even a little space for sense enjoyment, then he is put into this whole cycle of life, of birth, death, old age and disease. A little space makes a mess. You see, I am reminded of this story of Indra. Usually, whenever there is somebody in the material world who is doing lot of nice austerities, tapasya, yagam, and is almost getting near to become a threat to Indra's position, he usually sends Menaka or somebody and disturbs their austerity. So at one point, there was this one saint who was doing a lot of austerities in a forest. And this time, probably the other apsaras were very preoccupied disturbing the other saints. So Indra took it upon himself to go and disturb this particular Rishi. I'm not able to remember his name now. To disturb his austerity. So what he does is, Indra goes just like the way he is in his own rupa. He goes and knocks at the door, because this Rishi, this sadhu, he's staying in a small hut in a forest. He's given up, all his material luxuries and is staying very simply, very austerely. He just knocks on the door. It's twilight. And the sadhu opens the door and he's surprised to see somebody looking very kingly. So then he's surprised to see this person in all kingly dress. And then he says, well, I'm a king from a neighboring place. I had come here hunting. Looks like I've lost my way. So I'll somehow manage to go back. But the point is, I'm just carrying so many weapons with me, and especially this particular sword. It's very heavy. So I have to, take it all the way back to my palace. So can I just keep it here and I'll come and pick it up tomorrow. So the sadhu is like, no. Can you just see how I live? I'm so simple and I live so austerely and I don't want any material things inside my hut. So he's like, look, I'm not asking you to keep it forever. I'll just pick it up tomorrow morning. It's very heavy for me to carry. Just help me out. Keep it with you and I'll take it back the first thing in the morning. So when he kept on insisting, the sadhu said, that's all right. At least don't keep it inside my hut. You just keep it outside somewhere, And Indra is like, but look, it's very costly. I don't want somebody, because it's studded with diamonds. I don't want anybody should steal it. So now the sadhu is like, nobody is going to steal it. Just keep it there. Nothing will happen. And then he says, fine. So then Indra puts the sword there and he goes away. Now it's morning and the sadhu is waiting that the king's soldiers may come and pick it up. But nobody comes. And then he waits for another day. And then he waits for another day. And then nobody is coming up. So now after a couple of days and few months, the point is, the sadhus, they are sattvic. So they keep everything very neat and clean. So he has a habit to clean the whole place outside his hut, just put some water, keep it neat and clean, because they don't want any insects coming inside. Now there is a problem, because of that sword lying there, he's not able to clean it properly. So he doesn't want to even touch it. So one final day, with lot of, reluctance, he just picks up the sword from that place to another place and cleans up the place where the sword was lying for a long time. And after a couple of days, he picks the sword from this place and puts it on the other place to clean up this side. Now what happens, initially he was a little reluctant to even touch it, but now he just got used to keeping it from here to there and there to here to clean it up. Later on, after a few days, he thought, the king is not turning up, and what if somebody, because I go to get the fruits and berries and roots, and if I'm going in the jungle and somebody may just, better to keep it inside. So he started keeping it inside the house. And after a few days, he was like, what if somebody steals it from inside? The king is going to definitely ask me, because he has kept faith on me. So better I take it with me wherever I go. So he started carrying that sword with him wherever he was to go out for bathing in the river or collecting some fruits and all. So finally started carrying it right on his shoulder. He made this and he carried it. Then it so happened one day that the sage was plucking some berries, and then a snake propped up from the branch, and the immediate instinct, because he had that weapon, so he just took it out and he just smashed the head, cut the head of the snake. And then he was feeling bad. Oh, what did I do? But then he thought, anyway, it was self-defense. There was no other choice. So later on, what happened, as the time passed by, he started killing animals more and more. And then every time he used to tell his mind, well, it's self-defense, otherwise they're going to attack me. And then slowly he got so attached to that sword. And then that was the end of the story. Because he got so attached and he started killing unnecessary, even those animals which were not disturbing, for the fun of it, because now he got power. And then Indra up there in Amravati was like pleased. Oh, mission accomplished. I got my job done. So now what exactly happened was just a little bit, he allowed. Otherwise he was doing great. He was doing very well in whatever his austerities or whatever he had thought about doing. So what happened? Just a little space, and that's about it. It destroyed the whole thing. So sometimes, apparently in our lives also, just sometimes we're doing very well, but if we allow a little space from somewhere, and then a new story begins. And that is why you see in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many stories specifically trying to drive this point home, that devotees have to be all the more careful. Even we see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is always telling devotees should be more careful, because they're just almost there, and a little mistake here and there, and they'll have to. It's like the game of snakes and ladder. When we were young, we used to just play this game. 1, 2, 3. You just almost there at 99, and then you have to just get one thing right. And if that one thing goes wrong, then there is a snake at 99. He catches you, and then you have to go all the way, play the game all over again. So we see in the life of Bharat Maharaj also, he was doing very well, but then a little attachment with the deer, and then the whole thing. So yeah, the whole point is attachment, desires, actions based on desire, motivated by desires. What is making us taking birth again in this world? It's just two things: our desires and karma, the actions based on this desire. And there's two things keep us in the cycle of birth, death, old age and disease. So here he says that, Prabhupada mentions one point here in the purport. He says, when a person becomes materially engrossed, he has no capacity to hear about spiritual existence. Yeah. So when somebody is materially saturated, then there is no space for hearing about Krishna. He loses the capacity. Just like there may be a huge waterfall, a huge water resource, and you may be ready there with your bucket, which is so small, and the water resource is so huge. But if there is a hole in your bucket, then even though there is such big water facility available, you can't take anything because there is a leakage. Usually, what is that leakage? The leakage is the leakage of sense enjoyment. When we give a little space for our senses to go here and there, just a little space. It's like termites, termites just enter very small in size, but then they destroy the whole thing. So this is how the sense enjoyment and the material desires are like that, right? Otherwise, the spiritual process is so powerful, but when we give a space for material desires, like I was reminded of this when one disciple of Srila Prabhupada was asking him that, Srila Prabhupada, it says that 1 minute of association of a sadhu will destroy all our sinful reactions, and we can become a pure devotee. And we've been associating with you for a long time, but how come there are no changes in our lives? So there can be two possibilities: either the injunction of the Shastra is faulty, or maybe you're not a pure devotee. So what are we supposed to make out of it? And then Prabhupada said, yeah, you are right. A small spark can also burn the log of wood, but provided the log of wood is dry. If it is wet, it's not going to burn. So we chant and we take up this process, and it can burn up everything. But the thing is, sometimes what we do is we pour the waters of sense gratification on that wood, and then they become so wet, So here it says that the the material desires and leads to sense enjoyment, and then one forgets one's spiritual life, and because of that they are put into different bodies. So we have to be very careful and see that the leakage, where the leakage is happening, where are we making mistakes. See, the bucket has the capacity to store water, but we have to make sure that the bucket is at least kept upright. If the bucket is kept upside down, then definitely there's going to be no water inside. Or if the bucket has hole, then there won't be any water inside. Or if the bucket is already filled up with dirty water, then even if there is water coming inside, that water will also become dirty. So we have to see what exactly is happening. That is why you see, even though we are taking up the Krishna conscious process, it's taking so much time, because we are simultaneously doing two opposite things. So it's like, if you are in a car and you just drive the car and you press on accelerator and brake at the same time, then the car doesn't move. The accelerator, if you keep pressing, definitely the car can speed up. But at the same time, if you have another foot on the brake, then it's not going to go anywhere. It will remain like that for another 15, 20, hundreds of years. That is why you see the same instructions we've been hearing for many years now. Srimad Bhagavatam, surrender to Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no much change. But the same instruction when Dhruva heard from his mother, just one line that only Krishna can help you, or only the Lord can help you. And that's about it. Dhruva packed up. He just went to the forest, and within 6 months he's done. He's seen the Lord. He got whatever he wanted to back home. Everything is finished. Just 6 months. One instruction. Everything is done. But maybe we're hearing from 16 years, 30 years, 40 years, but nothing is happening. Because it's like cross ventilation, sometimes the windows, if you have a cross ventilation, the air blows from this side and then goes out from that window. Nothing remains. So usually whatever we are hearing, either it is going cross ventilation, we just hear from this ear and take it out, or it goes to the memory section. We say it's nice, maybe I can reproduce in other classes, or when I'm speaking to other devotees, it is nice. Or sometimes it simply goes to the book section, we just write it down, it is a nice point. But very rarely it goes to the section of heart, the Sankalpa section, where you actually decide to make a change in your life based on what you have heard. So why is this happening? Is that there's some fault somewhere. We are engaging our senses so much in some other direction that they become they're faulty. They're not working properly. So we need to oil them properly. So more of Shravanam and more of hearing and more of association of devotees, and slowly the leakage will be repaired, and of course consciously in being in awareness and being conscious of what you are doing, and definitely laying down certain rules. This is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to do, and not to leave it on, whenever someday it will happen, because that day will never come. So one has to consciously stop somewhere. How much is how much he's going to allow his senses to indulge in what. Usually when we do something good, we always look for a muhurta. I don't know what do you say in English. You just look for an auspicious time, Even like sometimes when I ask devotees now, they're practicing for some time now, why not you wear kanti? Why not you start? No, Mataji, I'll see some good day, nice day. Maybe on Janmashtami I'll wear kanti. Maybe Radhashtami I'll wear. Maybe I'll do. For one little good thing that you want to start or take a step towards Krishna, you're always looking for some auspicious time, some muhurta, some date, when I will start. You'll make so many plans. But when it comes to sense enjoyment, nobody is looking for a muhurta. Okay, I am feeling to enjoy my sense. Let me look for a time when I'm going to indulge into this. Nobody looks for a muhurta. Sometimes I keep telling devotees that just like you do this for your auspicious things which you want to start, even for, sometimes if your senses are too strong and, they force you to indulge, you tell them, I will, but let me see a muhurta. I'll look at a particular date and I'll plan it on this particular time. And that is when I will indulge. And I'm telling you, practically, if you start doing that, it will reduce, because these modes, they just come like a wave. Sometimes they are very strong, and if at that moment, if you can somehow take help of devotees and Krishna and proper association, and then after some time the wave just goes back. It's just an interim period that one has to somehow control. So practically what one can do is, because the mind is very very naughty. If you just tell, I don't want to do it, it will give you 100 reasons why you should do it. But if you just convince the mind and fool it, yeah, I'll do it. Let me see about proper time when I want to, indulge in this particular anti-devotional or non-devotional activity and take out a muhurta. Then I'm sure slowly, by the time you have decided, to carry on the particular activity, there will be a lot of different changes in the modes which you are passing through, and you may end up not doing it at all. So, when a person becomes materially engrossed, he has no capacity to hear about spiritual existence. So when he becomes too much into sense enjoyment, then he has no interest to hear about Krishna. Forgetfulness of spiritual existence entangles a man more and more in material existence. So this is, as I was just now saying, it's a cyclic process. Once a person gets into it, it's so difficult to come out. What happened with Indra? We hear his example, how he became a pig, and then when even they were trying, the devatas were trying to convince him to come back, he said, I'm busy with my piglets and my piggy wife, and I'm really busy, I don't want to come back. So it's like once somebody gets engaged into the material existence and into this fulfilling of material desires and into sense enjoyment, it's such a cyclic process. It's like a quicksand. Once you get inside, it's so difficult to come out, because it will keep pulling you from one activity to another. It will not allow you to come out. It becomes very strong. Like Sachinandan Maharaj, he gives this example of, I think, two dogs. No? He says you have one dog who is, you want to take you to the spiritual things, and then there is one dog which wants to guide you to the material things. But then if you keep feeding the dog, the material dog, then at one point of time it becomes so strong, it's just going to kick the other dog away, and then you will lose your chance, to go towards the spiritual life. But if you feed the spiritual dog and say no, learn to say no to the material sense enjoyment, then after a period of time, the spiritual dog will become so strong that it will become natural. Then you don't have to struggle so much. It will come naturally. But that initial period is one where one should strictly follow what Prabhupada gave, the sadhana and the rounds and association, and it has to go proper, the diet, taking prasadam. So if that is all properly followed, and then one becomes very strong, and very easily one can kick away the material dog. So here it says that one acquires lower birth when one's spiritual intelligence is reduced. So this material desire puts us in such a ditch. Because of material desires, you get a body, or you are born into such a culture where you don't even have an opportunity to know about Krishna. Right? It happens like that. You're put in such a situation because of your material desire. You are born in such a family where there is no opportunity to know about Krishna. And then now you will indulge in more sinful activities. Because you indulge in more sinful activities, now you will get a lower birth. Now because you got a lower birth, there is still no more facilities and opportunities to even come in contact with Krishna or its devotees. Then you will indulge in more sinful activities, and then you will have to take the consequences, and then you will go down and down. So it's like a continuous process. So my question is, how does one come out of this? See, if somebody is sinful, and then because they committed sin, now they are born in such a situation where they don't have opportunity to know more about Krishna. So that's why they'll keep committing more sin, and more sins will make them born in another lower species, and then another lower species. So how does one come out of all this? So how does one come out? By the blessings of devotees. These devotees are so merciful. They will come. See, our situation is like we are in a prison. And not only are we in prison, we are in dungeons. See, prison also sometimes, there may be some people who will come and give you some good knowledge, like we go, ISKCON devotees, we go to prisons, give Bhagavad Gita knowledge. But sometimes your behavior is so bad that you are put into dungeons, you put into individual independent cells because of your bad behavior, and there no reformers even come to explain you about Krishna consciousness. So this is what we are in the Kali Yuga people, because we lost the opportunity in Satyuga, Dwapar and Treta. And now we are here in Kali Yuga and we have no access. But Krishna is so kind that even though we are in these dungeons, he sends somebody like Srila Prabhupada, or he sometimes comes himself and delivers us. So Vaishnavas, the devotees, are greatest boons in our life, because they come and then they can remove us from the cycle of birth, death, old age and disease, because they will come and by the causeless mercy they will give Krishna to us. And then that one little spark, that one little mercy that they have given to us, with that we may start our Krishna conscious journey, and then we'll stop committing sinful activities, we'll start doing bhakti or sattvic activities. Then we can somehow come out from this chain, and then another beautiful chain will begin, because we'll start doing bhakti, or we'll at least start doing activities in the mode of goodness. That will bring good results. Good results will give us birth in a good family, where we'll have more opportunity to associate with devotees, more good situations to do more good activities, give some charity, and then the whole beautiful circle starts. And then of course, neither we want to be stuck in that circle or this circle. We want to do bhakti, neither good activities or bad activities. And then see, from the mode of goodness, the next step can be Shuddha Sattva, that is transcendence. And then we start doing bhakti, and then we go back home, back to Godhead. So this whole thing, it's a cycle, and the only person that can bring us out of this cycle is devotees. I remember this one very beautiful story of Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya, when he was a young boy, maybe only 7-8 years old, he was studying in a Gurukul with Bhashyacharya. So his grandfather was Natha Muni, and his father was Ishwar Muni. His father expired when Yamunacharya was very young, and his grandfather Natha Muni was a sannyasi. So he didn't have much help at home. He had just his old grandmother and mother, and then they had sent him to a Gurukul of Bhashyacharya, where he was studying. So he was studying there in that Gurukul, and once it so happened, there were holidays. Gurukul also has some holidays, and the Guruji had gone for a pilgrimage, and there was nobody around. He was the only one in the ashram. And then he saw that the king's soldiers had come there, and they were asking that, where is your Guru? So little Yamunacharya, he says, my Guru is gone for a pilgrimage. And he sees that the soldiers of the king are accompanied by some rishis, some students of some other Gurukul. So they were like very arrogant. So they're asking Yamunacharya, well, we don't have time. We just come to collect our tax. We come to collect some money from you. So he says, money for what? So they said, well, we are the disciples of this great Guru called Kolahala. And he has defeated everybody, all the Vedantists in this area. So everybody has to give him monthly some money. So your Guru hasn't paid up for a few months now, and we've been waiting. So kindly give the money. So they speak very arrogantly. So Yamunacharya, he's also a very young boy, and he actually argues with them. And he says, I can understand what kind of Guru you have, because with the fruit you can understand how the tree must be. So when you are so arrogant, I can understand how arrogant your Guru is. So I don't understand why how can you even say that my Guru has been defeated by your Guru in the scriptures, this, because if the disciples are like that, I can understand how your Guru must be. Forget about my Guru. Even if I today give the argument with your Guru, I can easily defeat him. So they start laughing, small little boys challenging our Guru. So however, they are very upset and they go back. So now, since he has given a challenge, Kolahala, he agrees. He says, all right, call the little boy and we'll have an argument. So then the king sent the soldiers. He said, come, we'll have a we'll have an argument, like a debate. Those days that was the thing, There are two spiritual people who have lots of knowledge of the scriptures. There is a debate happening, and then whoever wins, everybody takes guidance from them. The king takes guidance, they become the Kula Guru. So then this little Yamuna says, I'm ready to come for the, for the Vada, for the debate, but this is not the way, because, the great Kolahala has called me as his opponent, so I should be given proper respect. So kindly send me a palanquin and make the proper arrangements, I'll come. So then the king, he sends a palanquin and hundreds of soldiers, and they all escort him in very royally. By the time his Guruji Bhashyacharya comes back, and Bhashyacharya is like, what is this all happening? He's surprised. And Yamuna Acharya is like, don't worry, Guru Maharaj, I'll take care, And they're all worried because he's a very little boy. So then when they're carrying him in the palanquin and he actually enters the king's palace, the queen who is in the balcony along with the king, she's very curious to see that who is that little boy who has challenged such a great scholar, Kolahala. So when they look at the sweet face of Yamunacharya, the king is laughing, what is this little boy going to do? But the queen says, no, he's so confident, looks like he's going to defeat Kolahala. So now the husband and wife, they're having an argument. So finally wife says, fine, let's do like this. Let's bet on it. What will you give me if he wins? So the king says, all right, if Yamunacharya wins, I give half of my kingdom to him. And then the king asks the queen, what will you give if he loses? The queen says, all right, I become a maidservant of your maidservant. So they said, fine, the bet is done. And then the little Yamunacharya is carried inside the palace and the debate begins. Now, as soon as the debate begins, Kolahal starts asking so many questions to little Yamunacharya. And you should see his audacity. He is smiling and he's like, oh, that's all? Why are you asking me so much easy questions? Because of my age, maybe because I look very little. Na? So don't ask me so many easy questions. That's all that you can ask me little tough questions, because I'm looking young, but I have lot of knowledge. So finally he's like done with his questions, and he's, because he's giving perfect answers for everything. Then finally Kolahal is like, okay, fine, I'm done with my questions. Now you ask me questions. That is how a debate happens. So then this little Yamunacharya, he says, Kolahal, I ask you 3 things. I give you 3 propositions. You have to defeat them. He says, all right, tell me. So he said that, can you prove, I'm saying that your mother is not barren. Can you prove it otherwise? So now Kolahal says, what is this stupid question? That my mother is not barren. Definitely my mother is not barren, because she's given birth to me. How can I prove it otherwise? So he said, well, that's my proposition. So he says, no, I can't prove it. It's gone. Give me your second proposition. So second proposition, Yamunacharya says that the king is very righteous. Can you prove it otherwise? So Bhashyacharya says, how can I prove it otherwise? Yeah, the king is righteous. How can I? And he's just thinking in his mind, how witty, this kind of question he's putting. If I prove it otherwise, that the king is not righteous, I'll be cut. My neck will be cut. What is this? So he said, no, I can't defeat this proposition. And then he gives a third proposition. He says, I'm saying that the queen is the most chaste lady. Can you prove it otherwise? And the Kolahal is like, how can I prove it otherwise? Yes, the queen is a chaste lady, and if I prove it otherwise, I'll be hanged. So he says, no, I'm sorry. All the 3 propositions, I can't do anything about it. Now you defeat it, since you have raised the question. So then little Yamunacharya says, all right, very simple for me. All the 3 propositions, I'll defeat it. Definitely your mother is barren. So Kolahal says, how is that? He said, well, Manusmriti says that if a woman has only one child, then it is equal to having no child. At least they should have 2 children. Otherwise, she's called barren only. So that way I defeat the proposition. Your mother is definitely a barren woman, because she has only one child, and that is you. Second thing, he says, yes, the king is not righteous. I can prove that. And why is that? Because as a king, he takes 1/6 of the sinful activities committed by his citizens. So how can he be a righteous king? Because he has to take the burden of the sinful activities of all his citizens. So here I defeat my own proposition. And the third thing he says, definitely the queen is not chaste, because the queen is not married only to the king. When a queen gets married to a king, the king represents all the demigods, especially the 8 demigods, Vayu, Agni, and so on and so forth. So the queen is not married to one person, she's married to all the 8 demigods. So she's not chaste. So when he just finishes his last proposition, everybody is like, they just Alabandar, oh, he has conquered, and Kolahal is so much embarrassed. So now, as the king promised, he gives half of his kingdom to Yamunacharya. Now Yamuna, at a very, very young age, he becomes a king. Now many, many years pass, he's doing so good as a king, he's ruling, everybody is very happy. But now what happens? His grandfather, Nathamuni, he's getting old, and now he's worried that how should I bring my grandson back into Krishna consciousness? Now he's completely busy with his material life, managing a kingdom and all. So then he devises a plan. He sends his disciple, Ramchandra Mishra. He says, I am going to leave my body any time, but this is your responsibility. You somehow bring my grandson back into Krishna consciousness. He's very busy with his material life. So this fellow, he promises, he says, I'll bring him back, Guru Maharaj. That's my Guru Dakshina. So now Yamunacharya's grandfather leaves his body, Nathamuni leaves his body. Now the problem is Yamunacharya was so big a king that this Mishra, he had no way to approach him because he's unapproachable, he's a king, how to get an appointment with him. So he devised a very nice plan. He started supplying the kitchen of the king, where they cook for the king. He started supplying one very special kind of a spinach, which is available only in few parts in South India. So he started supplying that spinach, and that was supposed to be very, very tasty. So the cook started making them, because he said, I'm a fan of a king, and out of love and affection is bringing something for the king. So they started making that. Now the king was, every day for lunch, he was taking that spinach. So he got very much used to the taste and he started liking it. So he kept doing it for 1 month. And one fine day, he suddenly stopped the supply of the spinach. Now the king is asking during the lunchtime, where is that special preparation, that spinach? I want that. The cook is like, I don't know, dear king, there was one man who used to come regularly and supply, but he's not coming nowadays. Now the king got so used to it, he said, search for him, I want that spinach. So then they were all searching, where is that person, where is that? And finally they caught him, they brought him. Of course he was like, he wanted to be caught. So then they said, come, the king wants to see you. So the king speaks to me, who are you and what is that special spinach? I like it very much. Then he says, well, I just did all this to get your audience. I just want to tell you, I'm a messenger. I'm a disciple of your grandfather. Your grandfather has left his body. The only thing I wanted to convey to you is that before he left his body, he has left a lot of wealth for you. So kindly come and collect it. So the king says, that's all right. I can send my soldiers whatever wealth he has left. We'll just put it in the king's treasure. No, this is very, very special wealth and you have to come yourself, otherwise I can't give it to you, and it's guarded by 7 doors and there is a big serpent with 1,000 heads there, and he just explains it very dramatically, and you have to come personally, and that was the last wish of your grandfather. So he says, well, all right, I'm coming then. So, but then you can't come on your chariot, you can't come with your soldiers and ministers, you have to come all alone. Yamunacharya says, fine, that's all right, okay, I'll come with you. So then both of them, they start walking. So the king leaves his kingdom and they start walking towards, down south. So they're passing many forests. Now, those days there's no cell phone and WhatsApp, so they have to pass time. So what this Mishra is doing is, he's just reciting different verses from Bhagavad Gita. So in that course, he recites a very, very nice verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, sloka number 8. So when he recites that particular verse, now, you see, Yamunacharya was a devotee, right? And he had been studying in the Gurukul, so he knows all these verses by heart, and he had been doing parayan and recitation of these verses in his childhood. So when he says, he recites this particular verse, Mayena mana adhatsva, mayi buddhi niveshaya, nivesheshyasi mayeva ata udhvam na sangshaya. 12th chapter, sloka number 8. And when he says that sloka basically means that if somebody remembers Krishna and their mind is fixed on Krishna, then Krishna says that they live with me, and of that there is no doubt. And the moment he hears that, Yamunacharya, he starts crying and tears are flowing. He's like, alas, alas, what did I do with my life? How come I forgot Krishna? How come I forgot the Lord? Why I got so busy with my material life, and he just thanks him to Mishra, and he says, all right, now I don't need wealth anymore. I thank you very much. You just gave me the real wealth. And he's like, no, please come, I will give you the real wealth, there is something more to this. Then finally he takes him to Sri Rangam. Now we all know Sri Rangam. Ranganathji is sleeping on the Ananta Ses, and it is, you have to pass the 7 gates before you reach Ranganath. So he just takes him by hand and he just puts him in front of Sri Ranganathji. Then when Yamunacharya is looking at Ranganath, he's crying and crying like a baby, and he's like, thank you so much, how come I forgot. So then he says, thank you so much, for reminding me. And then of course we know rest is history, how he's no more bothered about the kingdom, and then he starts preaching God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So why I said this story is, we are in a big cycle, and the only way we can come out of this cycle is when a devotee intervenes in our life and then reminds us of Krishna, and then encourages us or pushes us to do bhakti, or pushes us at least in the mode of goodness. Then we can just break that cycle. Otherwise we are stuck into that, So here it says that forgetfulness of spiritual existence entangles a man more and more. So if a devotee comes in our life and very kindly reminds us, then we can come out. We see like Narad Muni is so kind. We see in this whole chapter, we see, he with so much patience, he's telling the story of Puranjana to King Pachani Barihisha, just to remind him the main goal of life. Narad Muni very kindly even helps the Prachetas, he helps Vyasadev, he helps Dhruva Maharaj. In fact, he even goes to Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, he tries with everybody. He wants to remind everybody about Krishna. He is so kind. So, devotees in his parampara, like Srila Prabhupada and other devotees, we see how very kindly they have come into our lives and reminding us about Krishna. So, very quickly I will try to complete the other sloka also. Natvam vidarbha duhita nayam virasuhe tava napatisthvam puranjanya rudho navamukhe yaya. Actually, you are not the daughter of Vidarbha, nor is this man Malyadhvaja your well-wishing husband, nor were you the actual husband of Puranjani. You were simply captivated in this body of 9 gates. Purport. In the material world, many living entities come into contact with one another, and increasing their attachment to a particular type of body, become related as father, husband, mother, wife, etc. Actually, every living entity is a separate individual being. And it is because of his contact with matter that he comes together with other bodies and becomes falsely related. False body creates various associations in the name of family, community, society, and nationality. So I'll complete the reading. Actually, every living entity is part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the living entities are overly engrossed in the material body. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears and gives instruction in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Vedic literatures. The Supreme Lord gives these instructions because he is the eternal friend of the living entities. His instructions are important because by them the living entity can obtain liberation from bodily engagement. As water passes down a river, many straws and grasses are carried from the shore. These straws and grasses come together in the river's current. But when the waves toss this way and that, they are separated and carried somewhere else. Similarly, the innumerable living entities within this material world are being carried by the waves of material nature. Sometimes the waves bring them together and they form friendship and relate to one another on a bodily basis of family, community or nationality. Eventually, they are thrown out of association by the waves of material nature. This process has been going on since the creation of material nature. In this regard, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings, Miche mayar vase yacha bhashe khacha habu dubu bhai jive Krishna das ei vishwas karle tar dukhanai. My dear living entity, you are being carried away by the waves of material nature. Sometimes you are on the surface, sometimes you are being drowned. In this way, your eternal life is being spoiled. If you simply catch hold of Krishna and take shelter of his lotus feet, you will once again get free from all the miserable material condition. In this verse, the words Suhrit, well-wisher, and Tava are very significant. One's so-called husband, relative, son, father, or whatever cannot actually be a well-wisher. The only actual well-wisher is Krishna himself, as Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. Society, friendship, love, and well-wishers are all simply result of being packed in different bodies. One should know this well and try to get out of this bodily engagement into which one is thrown birth after birth. One should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and return home back to Godhead. So beautiful. Saying that in this material world, many living entities come into contact with one another and our attachment increases and we start relating to one another as husband, mother, wife. I was hearing one class of Prabhupada where Prabhupada was saying that to have affection to your wife, children, husband, it's not bad. He said it is natural, it is necessary, but it is not spiritual. He said it is natural, it is necessary. It's natural, it's a natural instinct to love your wife, your children, your husband. It's natural and it's necessary. If there is no love, how? Then nobody will take care of anybody. Somehow because of this loving relationship is there, the husband works hard because he thinks it's his responsibility to take care of the wife. Somehow because of this relationship is there, the wife will cook food because she feels she's responsible to take care of her children. So yeah, it is natural, it is necessary, but it's not spiritual. It's not spiritual. So shall we stop it? No, we should not stop it. We should make it spiritual, is what Prabhupada is trying to say. Because to have affection for your wife and children, in every species, every animal, every bird, they have affection for their wife and children. It's not something great at all. You see, sometimes, you see those weaver birds, weaver birds. They make, when the weaver birds, they mate, and the female weaver bird becomes pregnant. They work hard and make a beautiful nest. I think weaver's bird is one very beautiful way they make the nest, very closed and cute with a small hole. And the she bird is inside that. And the male bird works very hard. If you just see, go to YouTube and just see this, video, you'll be amazed, It will work very hard. It will go to and fro, bring the food, and then he will put the food inside the nest for the she-bird to eat. And then when she delivers the babies, then he works more harder because now he has to bring the food for her and for the children also. So he will run to and fro. Then after some time, because he's not able to do it anymore because the quantity of food required is more, because he has to bring it through his beak and put it inside. Then the female bird also comes out, just like in the material world. Then the wife also starts working. The husband says, now both have to work. Then she comes out. And then both husband and wife, both mother and father, they run out and they bring food for the babies. Now when they put the food through the beak inside that nest, see, some eggs have hatched earlier. So those birds are a little bigger in size. And the eggs which have hatched later, they're very small. So they can't jump and take the food. So the siblings which are grown up, they just jump and collect the food. And the beauty is, they don't eat it themselves. They pass it on to the younger siblings. They first give it to them. After they are fed, only then they eat. Now when we see that, we will be amazed. Oh, even in the animal world, even in the birds world, they have so much love and affection, family ties. They love each other. They love their brothers and sisters. They love oh my God, such sibling ties are there. That means what we show as human beings is nothing great. Every species, even a cat loves its kitten, even a dog loves its puppy. Every animal loves its mate and the children, and they take care and they work hard and they sweat it out to take care of them. So nothing great about it. So Prabhupada said it's natural, it's necessary, but it's not spiritual. So but in human life, what we can do is we can keep Krishna in center. and make sure that our family, everybody becomes devotee. So we have a vertical relation with Krishna, we have a horizontal relation with our family, but we make sure that we take everybody together towards Krishna. Then that is the perfect utilization of the human birth. Otherwise, we are simply wasting human life. We're simply wasting human life, right? The purpose of human life is very high, but we are limiting it to very low standard, This is something like, I remember, when my elder son, he was just 3 years old, 2.5, 3 years old, and we were going to Nepal. So we had taken an Air India flight, I think from Calcutta somewhere. I remember this incident very vividly because even now we tease him. He's 20 now, but we tease him with this incident. So we were sitting in the plane and everybody, passengers are still climbing and all. So my elder son was very talkative. So, he's a child who's running around the aisle, and talking with other passengers. So I remember he went behind where we were sitting. He went behind. The people, passengers still climbing and boarding the flight, So he went behind and he's asking them in Hindi, "Aap log kyun aaye? Why have you climbed this plane?" So they're laughing. They're saying that, "No, we are also going to Kathmandu." So my son said to them, "Acha, you came here because you want to go to Kathmandu? You know why I came?" He was whispering to them, "Aapko pata hai main kis liye aaya?" So there was a young couple who were sitting there and they were like, yeah, why you came? "Actually, I came for eating, because this is a khana plane, So what khana plane basically means is, as a young boy, you see, whenever we used to take him on the flight, he's very excited to go in Air India flights, because in Air India they give that, good day. They give that good day biscuit, and they used to give some fruity. Other planes they don't. I mean, those days I think we had Air Deccan and all, but they were not providing any food. So he used to be so excited. The whole enjoyment for the flight journey was that when will the air hostess come with those goodies, some kind of chocolates or some gums or some biscuits, some fruity, and he used to be so excited. So he was telling them, "Aap log Kathmandu jaane ke liye aaya, main to khane ke liye aaya. I have just come here to eat," and that definitely as a child, that was his main excitement. If he can just somehow grab some cool drink or some chocolate, and that was a goal. So I remember this because even till today, we'll tease him sometime during the lunch and dinner. We said, "What did you say that day? You said you went to the plane only for eating, is it not?" He's a foodie actually. So aren't we doing that with our human form of life? We are not come here to become an ideal mother, ideal wife, best entrepreneur, great teacher. No, we came here because we forgot Krishna. So the whole purpose is we want to go back to Krishna. We are lost in this material world, and we just need to go back home. But what we are doing here is, I want to become a perfect mother, I want to become a perfect wife, I want to become this, or I want to become a big businessman, I'm not saying one should not, but that's not the purpose, is what I'm trying to say. Because the whole purpose is, we don't have to stop playing our roles. We should play our roles very nicely and efficiently, but don't forget the main goal. You can participate in the drama and do a great job of whatever character you are playing in that drama, but you can't forget your original character, and you can't keep remaining in that, in that character. You need to come out. So that's the whole point. Our like Prabhupada says, our lives are like those, is like that, that prince who's forgotten. He was riding a helicopter, and somehow the helicopter crashes, so he falls down in a valley, and then in this valley he's surrounded by the villagers, and he has forgotten his original identity, and now he lives with those villagers where he has to cut wood and he has to pass tool in the open spaces and has only roots and fruits to eat, and he's suffering every day, sweating it out. And when finally his father comes, locates him and it tells him, "Let's go back home," he's like, "Who are you? I don't even know who you are. Don't disturb me. I'm very happy." And the father is crying because he's a millionaire. He doesn't have to do all this errand. He can be happily staying in an AC room. This is what's happening with us. Forgetfulness. We've forgotten Krishna. We've forgotten what's our relationship. We've forgotten what's our original position, and here we are in this material. When we are slogging 9 to 5, 10 to 5, doing all sorts of things, and life after life, we are here, we're just staying here and continuing our material existence. So if a devotee very kindly comes into our life and then he explains, look, you are, where do you come from originally, what's your relationship with Krishna. So here says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna appears and gives instructions. And then here Prabhupada says that our lives are like those straws and grass, which is floating in the water. Sometimes they just come close and after some time they just go away. But in that short span of time, we get so attached. We were not born with them, and we're not going to die with them. Intermediate period, we just came in connection, we just came in contact, and we think that's the whole and soul. So what we need to do? So sometimes the waves bring them together and they form friendship on a bodily basis. Eventually they are thrown out of association. So this process has been going on for a long time now. So what one should do is take shelter of Krishna. See, the thing is, our life is like those ice crystals. When you take out the ice crystals from the fridge, what happens? They melt. Do they melt after 1 hour? No. They start melting the moment they come out. That is how our life is. The moment we are born, what we are simply doing is making a journey towards death every single day. In this intermediate period between birth and death, if we can somehow see, our life is like somebody who has fallen down from the aeroplane. Now what happens when you fall down from the plane? Definitely you're going to struck the ground and you're going to die. But if you are intelligent enough and you just open the parachute, then what will happen? Then you can be safe. So this is what our life is all about. So in between, if we surrender to Krishna and we understand that we are not this body, we are soul, then we can go higher, right? So attachment to father, husband, mother, wife will keep us in this material world. So one needs to go above it. It's not wrong to do your duties or to think about your wife and children and home. You see, thinking about them is not attachment. Unable to stop thinking about them is attachment. Got my point? Yeah, you have to think about them, you have to take care. But if you are unable to stop thinking about them, then that is attachment which will keep us in this material world. So we do our roles, but then we know where to put a full stop, right? So we give sufficient time for developing our Krishna consciousness. So here Bhakti Vinod Thakur is quoting a very nice Bengali bhajan here. In fact, there is one other beautiful Bengali bhajan which explains this whole purport, what Srila Prabhupada has given for this sloka number 60 in a very beautiful way. He explains it. In fact, this song he released in the year 1893 when he was around 55 years old. Very beautiful bhajan where he gives an autobiography of our lives, not his life. He is an elevated devotee. He gives a autobiography of our lives, of a whole story of our life. What exactly happens to us? How we forget Krishna, how we take birth in this material world, how we get engrossed in different activities, and then what happens to us in the end. I can sing that bhajan and explain it for 5-10 minutes. Okay. So this, if you can share the screen, it's Bhuliya Tumare. Very beautiful bhajan by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and it's so much related to our today's verse. It's completely explaining this whole verse in a form of a song. So here I'll sing 2 lines and then we will read the meaning. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Bhuliya tumare samsare asiya pe nana vidha vyatha তোমার চরণে আসিয়াছি আমি বলিব দুঃখের কথা. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, he's explaining my story and your story. He says, Bhuliya tumare, oh Krishna, just because I forgot you, what I landed up in big trouble. Because I forgot you, now I'm here in this material world, samsare asiya. what is happening now? Pe nana vidha vyatha. Now that I am here in this material world, I am getting all sorts of problems. What are those all sorts of problems? What are the three major problems that we suffer from? Adidevik, Adhyatmik and Adibhautik. Some other jivas give us trouble. Our own body gives us trouble. The Prakriti gives us trouble. See, these are the three main trouble, right? That's why you see after every ritual, you do a homam or you do anything, they'll say, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. They'll say 3 times Shanti. Because they can understand that in this world, these are the 3 major miseries that we are suffering from. So they are praying that there should be no Adidevik, Adhyatmik, Adibhautik miseries. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, just because I forgot you, my Lord, I landed up in this material world, and now that I am in this material world, which is Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam, I am getting all sorts of trouble. Pae nana vidha vyatha. So, Tumar charane asi achi ami boli bo dukher kotha. But what can I do, my Lord? I'm just coming, I'm surrendering myself to your lotus feet, and I'm expressing to you the tale of my agony, what I'm going through, because I have nobody but you as my shelter. This is so beautiful. Actually, when we pray to the Lord, there are 4 things that has to be there in the prayer. One is, we should tell the Lord, we should ask forgiveness from the Lord, that my Lord, I forgot you. For so many lifetimes, I'm just roaming around in this circle of birth, death, old age and disease. I forgot you for so many years now. Not anymore. Please forgive me. You have to ask forgiveness to the Lord. The second thing is, you have to criticize your own self. Oh, I'm such a fool. Though you reminded me so many times, you did all sorts of arrangement to recall me, call me back, but look, I'm still stuck in this material world. So first you ask forgiveness. Second thing is that you criticize yourself, that how dumb I am. Then you praise the Lord, like what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, that except you who is my shelter, my Lord, only you can help me. Tumar charane aasi achi ami. And then you say, my Lord, please give me bhakti, or please protect me. And the problem is that in the prayer, we forget the starting third part. We are only interested in the fourth part of the prayer. Give me, give me, give me, give me. I want this, I want this, I want that. That's the last part. So first you ask forgiveness, you criticize yourself, you glorify the Lord. Then you ask, my Lord, please protect me. See, we are good at completing our rounds. We are very good in coming for a morning program, hearing class. What we are not good at is, or what we are lazy is prayers. How many of us pray? See, chanting is also a form of a prayer. That's all right. You complete it as a routine or you stand. But the whole thing is, you need to talk to the Lord. You have to talk to Him. You have to pray to Him. And that praying has to be like a begging. There's a yachana. It has to be like a begging. My Lord, please. See, the problem is that sometimes because of our comfortable material situation, we don't get that depth in our prayer, that urgency, that emergency. Oh, please, Krishna, help me. Is it not? It doesn't come out very deeply, See, our situation is like, if there is some beggar who comes to you and tells you, last 3 days I've been eating very good food, nice 56 varieties. Today also I'll eat good food. Can you give me 100 rupees? Will you get any mercy? Say, last 3 days he's eating nicely. Now he's asking me, give me 100. No, but if he comes and tell you, last 3 days I haven't eaten anything. I'm hungry. Can you give? Then what will happen? Immediately you will try to, unless that depth comes, With us, the problem is our prayers with Krishna is like that only. Actually, everything is fine in my life. Everything is okay. I'm okay only. Just that some promotion, if you can arrange, I'll be happy. Otherwise, I'm fine. Actually, I'm okay. Because we have that feeling. There is no depth that, oh my Lord, I'm suffering. Because we're not even feeling that we are suffering. We're like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Only if you can make this one particular arrangement, then I'll break one coconut. In South India, the coconut thing is, somehow the South Indians believe that there is a lot of scarcity of coconut in Vaikuntha. And they think that, if I give one coconut also to the Lord, He'll be ready to do anything because there's no coconut in Vaikuntha. So He'll be so happy, He'll do all my business deals. So Tumar charane aasi achi ami. Bolibu dukher kotha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, who is my shelter but you, my Lord? I'm telling you my tale of woe. This is what happened to me. I forgot you. I came into this world and now I'm in a big mess. Then he says, Janani jathare chilama jokhona bhishama bandhana pase ek bar prabhu dekha diya more vanchilo e din dase. Says, when I was inside this stomach, the womb of my mother, I was in big mess because I'm tied up on that umbilical cord. I'm in such a bad situation, the head is touching the knees. I'm like cramped. I'm bitten by insects. I'm in such a bad situation. But you are so kind, my Lord. Ekabara, you just came once and you gave me your darshan and then you just left. So he's just explaining, and you just left, my Lord. So people think that, being inside the mother's womb is maybe very nice and cozy. But as devotees, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 31st chapter, Kapil Muni describes what happens when we are inside the womb. Oh, our hair will stand. Nobody wants to get inside that womb, right? But in the material world, people don't understand. That's why you see sometimes the real estate people, they give advertisement. If you buy our flat, it is as cozy as a mother's womb. Devotees will never buy that flat because they know what happens inside the mother's womb. You are bitten by insects. You're suffering there, right? So he's saying that I was inside suffering and not everybody is fortunate to have Lord's darshan inside the womb. Lord is there always as Paramatma, but he doesn't give darshan to everybody. Maybe Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Parikshit Maharaj, some of them have that great opportunity. So here he says, you came, my Lord, and you gave me darshan, but then you immediately left, my Lord. That is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. So definitely there must be a lot of suffering inside the womb. Otherwise, how come every sampradaya, every Vaishnava Acharya, everybody is talking about the agony of being in the mother's womb? You see, even Shankaracharya, he says, Janani Jathara. What he says that Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Shayanam. Iha Sansare Khalu Dustare Kripiya Pare Pahi Murare. Oh, I don't want to get inside Punarapi Jananam again and again inside the mother's womb. No. Kripiya Pahi Murari. Murari, please, this time I don't want to go back in that place again. Please deliver me. So definitely there must be some real agony, some real distress inside. Otherwise, why everybody talks about don't want to go back into the mother's womb? Then he says that you just appeared and then you just left, my Lord. Then he says, Tokhona bhavinu janama paiya karibo bhajan tava janama hoilo padi maya jale na hoilo gnana lava. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when I saw you, I made up my mind. Yes, when I take birth this time, I'm going to pray to you, my Lord. I'm going to do lots of bhajan. And then I don't have to come back to this material world. But alas, when I actually took birth, what happened? Padi Maya Jale, this Maya, she attacked me. Na hoilo gnana lava. Oh, I thought I'm just going to do a good job this time. But Maya, she spoiled the whole thing. The moment I took birth, she just covered me. What does Maya do? Maya does two things. She covers up, she covers us, and she takes us away from the reality. And then the second thing she does is she attracts us. She attracts us. First she covers us and she keeps us in illusion. She keeps us away from the reality. See what happens when you go inside a cinema theater. The first thing they do in a cinema theater is they'll close all the lights. Why they do that? Because they don't want that you should connect anymore to reality. You should forget that you are in a cinema theater. When all the lights are off, what will happen? You will simply look at the screen. So now what they have done, they have disconnected you with the real world. And then once the screen is on, what they're doing, they're just attracting you. This is what Maya does. The first thing is she'll make us forget where did we come from, where are we supposed to go, what is our real identity. She just covers up everything and we just start thinking, This is the reality. This is she's my wife. That's my husband. This is permanent relationship. I'm supposed to, my life is for them, right? And then what she said starts attracting us. Come towards me, right? That's why, see what happens in a cinema theater. When the hero gets bashed up, you start crying. When the villain wins, you are feeling so bad. You know very well that it's not true, but still you get connected because they have created the whole ambience like that, and that's what Maya does with us too. She creates the whole ambience in such a way that we start feeling, this is my permanent home, these are my permanent children, my permanent wife, and I have to take care of them. So he says, oh, I was just caught up in Maya, my Lord. I decided I'm going to do a good job this time, but then I forgot everything. Then what happens? आदरेर छेले स्वजनेर कोले हसिया काटानु काल जनक जाननी स्नेहे ते भूलिया संसार लागिलो भालो. Says, oh, I was given so much respect by my relatives and my friends and my mother and my father. Adarera chele. They were pampering me so nicely. Swajanera kole, making me sit on their laps, giving me so much affection. Hasiya katino kalo. Oh, I don't know how the time passed, laughing and joking with them. Janaka janani snehete bhuliya. Oh, my mother and father were giving me so much affection, so much sneha. Oh, I forgot what was the purpose of my human birth. Why have I come in this world? What promises I made to you, my Lord, in the womb. Everything I forgot. Samsara lagilo bhalo. I felt this world is really nice, na? It's very nice place. I became settled in this world, right? This is what is happening, right? No, by this taking up this bhajan today, I don't mean that one should not give love and affection to one's children. The whole point is, if you really love your children, if you really love your relatives, you really love your parents, your family, then you give them Krishna consciousness, if you really love them, right? See, imagine, you have diabetes, okay, and I'm your doctor, and I'll tell you, it's all right, you eat gulab jamun because I'm so attached to you, If you eat, the way you smile when you eat gulab jamun makes me feel so happy. It's all right, you can eat. You will think this is crazy, you're being cruel. If I'm a doctor and I know the reality that this person is suffering from sugar, I'm supposed to stop you. Am I being cruel to you? I'm not being cruel to you, right? That is real love. But if you say, no, it's all right, that is what we do when we don't direct our children into Krishna consciousness. What we are doing, I love them so much, so let them waste time, let them not be Krishna, let them eat whatever, let them not offer the food to Krishna, then what are you doing? You're being cruel actually, because you know what's the consequences, right? So if you really love your parents, if you really love your family and relatives, you have to make sure that you encourage them, motivate them, and somehow bring them to Krishna consciousness. And that's real love. So, it says that I started feeling that, oh, this world is such a beautiful place. Then, Krame dine dina balaka hoiya Khelinu balaka saha Ara kichu dina gnana upajilo Patha padiyaha. Oh, as the days passed, I started growing up. And then I started playing with my friends. Now, no more mother, father. I'm just playing with my friends. And then what happened? After some time, I started going to school. And then I patha padi. Oh, I became more and more knowledgeable. I started getting so many degrees. I became an educated person. I got so engrossed in my material education. Then, विद्यार गौरवे भ्रमी देशे देशे धन उपार्जन करी स्वजन पालन करी एक मने भूलिनो तुम्हार हरि. Now what happened? I got a lot of knowledge, lot of degrees. I started going from this country to that country, Brahme, Deshe, Deshe. And I started making money. Now I got a good job. Dhana uparjana kari. I was so busy. Swajana palana. My whole focus was now how to give the best of facilities to my wife and children. The best of car, the best of the house, the best of everything. I got so busy. And in this whole process, I completely forgot about you and the promise I made to you in the womb. Everything I forgot. I got so busy. Then in the last stanza he says, Bardhaka ekhona bhakati vinoda kandiya katarati na bhajiya tore dina vyatha gelo ekhon ki hobe gati. Now what happened? Now I became old. The days passed. Now at this old age, I am looking at my balance sheet. Arey, what did I do? Whole life got wasted. What did I do for Krishna? How many hours, months, years and days passed by. I forgot completely of my promise made to Krishna. But now what should I do? Dina vyatha gelo. All the days I have already wasted. Now I have very little time left. Now what should I do? Alas, alas, I have wasted my human form of life. Is it not our stories? This is our story of our life. How we take birth, then education, then job, and we get busy into our lives and taking care of our families, and then whole life keeps going like that, and at the end, alas, now what should I do? Now there is no time left. And what you do whole day comes in dream. What you do whole life is what you are reminded at the time of death, or rather when you become old. When you become, see, anything that becomes old becomes weak. Today, if this becomes after a few years, this will not be as strong. This will not work as it was working. Phone, chair, everything will become weak in this world as it gets old. But there is something which becomes very strong as we become old. That is our habits. They become very strong. Have you seen old people? If you ask them to change the side of the place where they are sleeping in the night, they said, I can't sleep. I need that same place. I need that same pillow. I need the same temperature. I need that same food. What happens? Habits become stronger. The other things become weaker, but our habits become stronger. So if we haven't cultivated the habit of remembering Krishna, praying to Krishna, then in old age it will become impossible. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, now what to do? Now when I'm looking at the balance sheet, I see I spend all my time and energy in material activities. Now what will happen? In my childhood, see, my father was like, he used to play lots of bhajans. And as children, I don't know where the bhajan comes from, but we just picked it up. This is also some example where what you have done whole childhood, you'll just remember it. It keeps coming. I remember this one bhajan he used to play in Hindi, He'll say, Bachpan beeta, khel khel mein, bhari jawani soya. अब क्या देखे, देख बुढ़ापा, क्या खोया, क्या पाया. देर अभी भी नहीं हो रही है बंधे, ले ले हरि का नाम रे, बोलो राम, बोलो राम, बोलो राम, राम राम. Says bachpan beeta, the whole childhood is wasted in playing, right? What Shankaracharya says, balya avastha krida saktam. Oh, you just so busy with the toys. Taruni avastha, taruni saktam. In the young age, you were behind some girl trying to get married, so many things. And then in the old age, vriddha avastha, chinta magnam. So many tensions, what will happen? And then parabrahmani kopina. When will you remember the Lord? The whole, you see, I remember when we were in the, when I was young, I used to take up these summer camp classes, in ISKCON Hyderabad, and we were having this format where we used to show, in the blackboard, if a person lives 75 years of his life, then there is a whole calculation. I am not able to get that where it is. Those days we used to talk about in the summer camp classes. There is a whole calculation. If you are 75 years you spend, then in that 25 years goes for sleeping, then this many years goes for eating, then brushing, taking bath, going for job, education, transport, you go from one place to another. And then finally when they calculate, only few years remain. So that means how less time we have, right? To pursue our Krishna consciousness. So we have to be so calculative. So bhari javani soya, you just become so busy with your material sense enjoyment. And now at this old age you are crying, what to do, my Lord? And now it's so difficult to change habits, right? I've seen many of them, they come and tell that, old parents at home, but they'll be watching some Z channel, some Telugu channel, some movie channel, some news channel, and the youngsters who are now in ISKCON are not able to convince their older parents to give it up. because it's become a habit. They need a newspaper, they need to watch certain serials, they need to watch certain, so difficult to change habits. So one has to start practicing it from young age. So here Bhakti Vinod Thakur, such a beautiful bhajan. So it all started from forgetfulness. When we forget Krishna, and we start engaging in sense enjoyment, our material desires keep increasing. The more you put ghee, the more you put butter, the fire burns more large, more big way, right? So you feel that if I just fulfill this one desire, I'm done with it, but you're not done with it. You fulfill it, and then more desires will come, and then more desires, and then you keep working in that direction, and then you are into this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So yeah, it's not a one-day process, because we've been carrying these desires in our subtle body from long time. We give up this physical body in this life, but the subtle body we are carrying from previous life. Now there will be some desires in our previous life which are unfulfilled, some samskaras, so we are carrying them again in this life. So again in this life, even if we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness very seriously, they keep propping up. So definitely it's going to be a tough time, but then we work harder. You see, sometimes, the ladies, they know very well. If you have, oil in some container and you want to change the container, it's very difficult. The oil container, the greasiness won't go. You have to go on cleaning with hot water, with some surf, some hot lukewarm water. You have to put extra pressure. So in one go, it may not go away. Then second time, then third time, then fourth time. Still some greasiness of the oil will remain. But ultimately, if you keep on doing it, one fine day it will become nice. So this is what happens with our lives also. It's not a one-day job, right? To get attached to Krishna, and because we are conditioned in this way, but we keep trying. So I'll culminate my talk today here with giving a summary of what the take-home lessons can be for today's class. Is association of devotees is very helpful, because only they can remove us from this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, by breaking that cycle of cause and effect. If they drag us and push us into sattvic mode and encourage us to do some devotional service, then we can come out of this cycle. And the other thing is we need to keep trying, and it's natural and necessary to have attachment or affection for our wife and children, but it is not spiritual. So we need to focus to make sure that we make our family also spiritual, and even motivate them into Krishna consciousness. We don't have to stop doing our material activities. We can add Krishna to it, just like I many times give this example that doing yoga is good. It helps your physical body. But if you do yoga with pranayam, then it has a better effect. That means with every asana you breathe also. You are conscious of your breathing, You go up, breathe in, and then you go down, breathe out. You have to do it. Similarly, you do your activities, what you're supposed to do, your duty, but don't forget the pranayam. The pranayam is, don't forget to remember Krishna. So just add Krishna to all your activities, make it spiritualized, take association of devotees, learn to say no, to anti-devotional and non-devotional activities, because a little bit of sense enjoyment if you allow, and then it just takes up the whole space. And we spoke about the story of Indra, how he just gave one sword and then the whole direction changed. So this is what is the of course there's so many things Prabhupada has said in the purport. I could not cover even one tenth of it, but yeah, so certain points, whatever, that how desire and karma brings us to another body, and how we should try to surrender to Krishna, take association of devotees, spiritualize our life, and that's about it. See, one exercise, practical exercise I can suggest. Write down 10 things in your life which you were very attached to when you were a young boy or a young girl, and just tell me, and just, of course, we can't talk, but write it down tonight, and then just try to contemplate how many of those 10 things you still have with you, or you still consider that they are important in your life. And you will be surprised to know that none of those things exist anymore in your life, and neither you feel they are important in your life. And in fact, when you are reminded of them, you feel it's funny. It's funny that I really thought that those things were so important in my life, because now they're not important. Did you get my point? See, I'll give you one example. When I was young, maybe class 4th or 5th, one of my cousins had gone to Germany and he had brought a nice eraser. Now imagine those days, to have an eraser from Germany was like big thing, and you just want to show it in your school to everybody. And that was so important for me. I remember I had it in my compass for a year and I never used it. Whenever I had to erase something, I just used that Nataraj rubber. But that eraser from Germany, I just kept it and just wanted to show it to my friends. And at that point of time, it was so special for me and it was source of my happiness. And I thought I'll just keep it for the rest of my life. But now I don't know where is that eraser. I don't know. And I feel it's funny even to think about it. Even for my elder son, I remember he was very attached to a particular shirt, which was a red color shirt, and it said 100%. And he was so attached to it that I had to regularly wash it in the washing machine and dry it, because he wanted to wear it every day. So by the time he goes to school and comes back, I have to dry it, iron it and keep it, because he'll wear it again and again. And during this lockdown, when I was cleaning up the house, I had kept it because it was a special memory. And during this lockdown, when I was cleaning up, I just showed him that. And he said, "Bah, Mama, please." And I was like, "Why are you saying that, Mama, please? You were so attached to this shirt." And he was laughing. He said, "Oh, forget. I don't know why I was so attached." Now it's funny for him. But that time it was his source of happiness and he thought that was his life. So you just see there are so many things in our life like that which we think they are the most important thing in our life and source of happiness. And now if we think about it, we find it funny. Similarly, the things which we think now, very important, my wife, my children, my property, my bag, my car, my property, just after some time, when we go higher in Krishna consciousness, and you'll think, oh, that was funny, that was funny, I was so attached and I was thinking that's my source of shelter and happiness. But I understand now that Krishna is the only source of shelter and happiness. So by doing this exercise, you will understand that the things that I'm very attached to now and I think I can't live without them, it's just a matter of few years. When you look back, you'll be like, that's all right, it's not that important. So this one exercise you can do. So that's about it. I'll stop it here. Thank you so much for bearing with my long speeches. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, so as I understand your question, the first part of your question is practical tip on how to be detached and not attached. I can give you 108 tips, but I'll give you one tip just now, and then maybe some other time we can have a class completely based on this, where we can call it how to be attached but detached. We can have some some kind of a class, but I'll just give you one quick tip. Sometimes your, let's say, mother-in-law, okay? Let's say your mother-in-law, let's say you're living in an apartment, okay? And lots of children are playing and all of them had ice creams today, so they've got cough and cold. So now your mother-in-law is just walking in the corridor, and let's say the neighbors are like, today my son got cough and, he's been coughing and this and that. So your mother-in-law being a, old lady, they have so many, kya bolte, gharelu nuske, they have this household tips, home tips. So she'll give tip, take some clove and take some steam, keep some cinnamon under the tongue, put some eucalyptus oil, and definitely your son will be fine, by tomorrow. Okay. Now I'll tell you what will happen. I'll tell you the difference. Now what will happen, your mother-in-law, she will give that advice, she'll give that tips, but she will not expect that that tip will be followed religiously by that lady, because she is not connected. She just gave the advice out of, okay, I just want to help you, but she doesn't have any expectation. So tomorrow, again, when she goes for the evening walk and she finds that child is still suffering from cough and cold, she's not going to fight with the neighbor. Arey, I told you na, give him why didn't you give? Is this the way to behave? Why you haven't given the, this? I told you to give some clove. I told you to give some hot water. She won't. She gave her advice. If she follows, very good. She doesn't follow, it's all right. But the same advice, if your mother-in-law gives it to you for her grandchild, and if you have not followed it, you had it. She will be very tough with you. I told you yesterday itself, you're supposed to do it. Why didn't you do it? She'll be so tough on you. Now, why is this happening? Because she's attached. And when there is attachment, then there is expectation. I have given such a nice advice. If she would have followed it, within 2 hours the cold would go. But she doesn't listen to me. She's so independent. She doesn't understand. She's busy all the time in ISKCON satsang. She cannot understand. If she would have given half an hour time, the whole thing would have... And she will go on and on and on. Why? The expectation. Why no expectation with the neighbor? Okay. Affection, no attachment. That's all right. I gave advice. You take it, it's okay. No, it's no. Now, that's what we need to do with our lives. Nobody's asking us not to love our children. Nobody's asking us that we should stop disciplining them. We're only asking is that be detached. Attached but detached. That means no expectation. So you will give your 100% to take care of your children. You will do your 100% duty with your husband, with your in-laws. But you are not attached to the consequence of it. That means even after putting up your 100% endeavor to make today's vegetable curry and sambar, if your husband doesn't praise you, you're okay with it. Because you're not attached to the consequence. You will do the action properly. That is his desire. When you stop writing other people's script, you stop becoming a producer and director. You simply write your script. I'm supposed to use MTR masala and make a very nice sambar today. It should be ready by 7 o'clock and served hot. I write my script. I don't write his script. How is going to be his reaction? That is not. The problem is we start writing everybody's script. When I say this, he has to react like this. When I take a step like this, he has to come out like this. And if he doesn't go according to your script, you just get frustrated. That is the problem. So being detached basically means you do your duty 100%, but you don't be attached to the result. So you try to discipline your child and you are trying to be a very good mother. Of course, nobody can be perfect. Now, this one word we need to remove, because this material world, we can't be perfect. We can be reasonably good. Because even if I tell you be perfect, then again that will put you in depression. I'm not a perfect mother. I'm not a perfect wife. No, nobody can be perfect. Nobody can be perfect. Only Krishna is perfect. He's Purna. We are all Apurna. We can be reasonably good, or rather we can try our 100%. We can put our best efforts. So yes, we'll put our best efforts, but even after that, we see there are no changes in our child. See, he is an independent soul and is carrying so much samskara from his previous lives also. So you just can't play with his, See, I gave one class, recently for the devotees of Baltimore. It is there in the YouTube. It's called Decoding Karma. I don't want to again repeat it here. If you want, just go and hear that class where I've given lot of examples and I've explained this whole process, what happens with the conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious mind, what are the 7 layers, what happens with our desires, how the subtle body changes. The whole thing I've explained in Decoding Karma. You can just refer to that lecture and a lot of your questions may get answered. So this is one tip. I'm just talking about one particular incident. There may be, grihasthas means there are so many things happening in your life, right? It's not just one thing about cooking or cleaning or educating your children. There may be so many aspects. I'm not touching all aspects. I'm just giving you one tip like that, Even if this one tip also, if we amalgamate in our life, I'll tell you, lot of parishani, lot of tension will go away, if we stop expecting, Of course, I can elaborate more on it, but maybe this is not the time. So like that, So that is called having affection, but no attachment. No attachment that people have to follow your instructions. They have to go in this way. You have to do your best and leave the rest, because you are not the only factor in that person's life. There is so many things happening. There is Purva Janma Karma, Purva Janma Sukriti, then there is the Karma, then there is the ultimate sanction of the Lord. There is so many things involved. It is not like a cause is equal to effect. The equation is incomplete. There are so many plus to that. So if we understand, it will make our life very easy. Second part of the question, you said how to remember Krishna constantly. So this also I have answered many times. Yeah, to remember Krishna constantly. Yeah, Shravanam, 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 Shravanam. Hearing. What you keep hearing will be in your mind, If you go and watch a 3 hours movie, I tell you for sure, you watch a 3 hours movie and then you sleep tonight. When you try to close your eyes, that what you saw in the movie will come. It's so simple. Whatever you have done in the office today, whatever it will come. So if you have given sufficient time, spent sufficient time today in Krishna consciousness by chanting and hearing and Shravanam and Kirtanam and Smaranam, then you will remember Krishna when you are sleeping in the night. It's as simple as that. There's no big science behind it. Just you have to do lots of course, somebody may argue, but Mataji, I did whole day Shravanam, I did whole day Kirtanam, but still I could not remember Krishna in the night. So fine, then there are lots of layers, maybe lots of cleaning is required, maha cleaning. So every time that you're doing Shravanam and hearing, one layer is going and another layer is going, and very soon it's going to become clean. So it's a matter of time, and once it becomes very clean, then life will be so simple. Whatever you do, that only you will remember, because there's no previous kachra, there's no previous dust, na? So it will become very simple. But till the time the dust is there, you may not see a visible effect, but koi baat nahi, you continue. Just like I said with the oil tin, it will not go, the grease doesn't go, but you continue, and one fine day there won't be any grease remaining. So yeah, it's very simple. You invest time and you get your money back. So you invest time in Krishna, you invest in Shravanam and Kirtanam, and the Smaranam will happen very easily. It will happen. So that's what. Thank you. I hope it helped you. Okay, so I understand what your question is, that how do we get that prayer, sincere prayer to Krishna, seriousness in praying to Krishna. I think answer for everything is Shravanam only, because sometimes we are so materially comfortable and that seriousness may not come because we are so happy, everything is okay, going on fine. Like Kunti Devi said, that those who are, beauty and money, aristocracy, these are all hurdles in Krishna consciousness, because we become so comfortable that tivra prayer will not come out, because we are so comfortable. So it's like, if somebody is too much drunk, then they don't even realize that they are drunk. If they have drank a little, then they realize, I can't drive, I have drunk little bit more today, can you help me? But if they are too much drunk, then they can't even realize that they are drunk, and they'll ultimately fall in some gutter or dash the car. So sometimes it happens that we are so materially comfortable that we may not even get that urgency, Krishna please help me, because as of now you don't see immediately any help required. You have a nice devotee husband, children, you're having nice satsang, kirtan, so there is no big urgency of praying to Krishna. So that urgency may not come immediately, but we keep doing Shravanam, and in fact, especially if we keep repeating the bhajans of the Vaishnav Acharyas, the Thakurs, Vaishnav Thakurs, because they speak with so much urgency, you see their prayers, they are so full, deep, very profound, praying Krishna with so beautifully. So till we get our original feelings, we can copy paste them. It's like just keep repeating, so you can sing all the Vaishnav bhajans in front of Krishna, because still our urgency feeling is not coming. But when we keep doing it, ultimately one day we will actually start feeling like how Bhakti Vinod Thakur is talking, I'm insignificant, I'm so sinful. So that feeling will come and that urgency will come. But till that comes, we can continue hearing and reading and singing Vaishnav bhajans and stutis and prayers. These stutis in Srimad Bhagavatam, they're very powerful. Dhruva Maharaj stuti and Prahlad stuti and Brahma stuti and Bhishma stuti and Kunti Devi stuti. So like that we can keep doing stutis, and so that urgency and that thing will come. See, the whole thing again boils down to the same answer. That urgency is not coming because we feel comfortable. We feel comfortable because we are covered with ignorance. We are covered with ignorance because we are not doing proper Shravanam and hearing. So when we do Shravanam and hearing, the covering goes. When the covering goes, we see the real picture, the things as they are. Like I like this bhajan of Narsim Mehta, which is one of my favorite Gujarati bhajan, where he sings, he says, Jagine jo to जगत दिसे नहीं ऊंघ माट पटा भोग भासे. He says, when I am awake, then this whole world is like, I understand, oh my God, this is material world. But but when I'm sleeping, then I feel this world is so beautiful. So what he means to say is that when we have worn the spectacles of Maya, this world is so beautiful and so comfortable. There is no urgency of Krishna consciousness. But when that covering of Maya is removed and I can see things as they are, then that urgency happens. Now to see things as they are and not to see them under Maya's influence is a big task. And that happens only when we do lots of Shravanam and hearing and Kirtanam and chanting and association and taking Prashadam, and then the covering is removed. When the covering is removed, the urgency will come. So even now there is no urgency. We keep doing it. But we can start doing one thing, is we can start talking to Krishna. Apart from your chanting of rounds and attending the sadhana and Bhagavatam class, when you stand in front of the deity, talk to him. Whatever you want. Talk to him. And if you don't have that facility of, standing in front of the deity, write to him. You can have a journal or a diary where you write your feelings to him. Develop a relationship with Krishna. Talk to him, write to him, talk to him. Then you'll understand your own bhavas. At one particular day, you will see, just go back 15 days and you will see, wow, I was in such a good frame of mind. And now see what kind of thoughts I get. So you can do that. That is one practical tip, is write. Other thing is talk to him. Have a conversation. You stand in front of the deity and you talk to him, just like I'm talking to you. If you talk to him and then, slowly you'll develop a relationship with Krishna, and then you will get that prayer, from your heart. I just hope it helps you. Thank you.
Sab Krishna, Krishna, Krishna lage. Sab Krishna, Krishna, Krishna